Hey guys, Languagehacker here, and with Fractured in Alterac Valley being announced, I'm going to give you a rundown of what the new cards they've shown do. Are they good? Are they bad? Are we going to run them? I'll give you a quick overview, and obviously it's going to be a bit hard because we don't see everything yet, but I'll give you a good idea of what the new cards look like. So let's dive right in. Alright, let's start. We have only seen 10 cards released so far, but let's see what we've seen, what we have. I'll start with the neutrals, not that exciting, and then we'll build up some hype to the cool stuff. Knight Captain, 5 mana 3/3. Battlecry, deal 3 damage. Honorable Kill, gain +3/+3. Honorable Kill is a new mechanic they've introduced into this expansion, and it basically means if you perfectly kill an enemy minion, the Honorable Kill effect happens. And what that means is if the 3 damage perfectly kills the opposing minion, i.e. the opposing minion has, or it doesn't have to be an opposing minion, it could be your own minion, I guess, too. If you deal 3 damage to minion and it has 3 health left, that counts as an honorable kill. Interesting kind of lore-wise, but cool. So if you get an honorable kill, it's a +2/+3. So it could be 5 mana 6/6, kind of like a bigger flanking strike, which is kind of cool. Obviously, the downside is you're not always going to be able to activate this, and if you're stuck with an awkward 5 mana in hand, it could be kind of weird. We might see this in play, but it depends how tempo-heavy the meta is going to be. I could see this being run as a neutral, slightly bigger flanking strike, but it's probably not fancy enough to just throw into most decks. It'll be in some tempo decks. I don't see this in much else. Next up, Gnome Private, 1 mana 1/3. So adding an extra 1 mana 1/3 is kind of nice for aggressive decks that want some more early game. Honorable Kill, gain +2 attack. So if this kills a target perfectly with 1 attack into 1 health, it gains 2 attack, which is kind of good. Again, early tempo, fighting for board, makes this card relevant. You might still run this just as a 1/3 if you want to run a hyper-aggressive deck and you need more bodies. So this might see play, actually. Whether or not the Honorable Kill is good is going to be pretty meta-dependent, because we are aware that some decks in the meta don't actually run minions right now. And some of these have been nerfed. For example, Quest Mage, TKDH doesn't play minions either. Weapon Rogue with Smite doesn't run weapon. They do run some minions, but not enough to actually warrant this, maybe. So might see some play, but again, it's going to be meta dependent. Bloodseeker, this is a 2 mana 2/2 hunter card. We're not going in order, are we? You know what, let's stick with the neutrals. JK. Vander Stormpike, paired together with Drekthar. These are the 2 generals for the Alliance and the Horde respectively, and these are the cards you'll get to choose when you log into Hearthstone and choose a side. So if you choose Alliance, you'll get Vander Stormpike. 4 mana 4/4, Battlecry. If this costs less than every minion in your deck, reduce their cost by 3. This has kind of a Keleseth type vibe, but instead of having stat buffs, you get mana reduction, which is really good. Mana reduction has always been strong, and I will imagine that it continues to be strong, especially with an effect like this that lasts over the course of a game, where you can get value over time, or tempo over time, over the course of the game, if you get this down early. And even if you don't get it down super early, even mid-game, reducing stuff over the course of the game can matter. That being said, we might not be able to realize this if games are still pretty quick. Right now, a lot of games are ending relatively early, and because of that, you won't really be able to get use of this too much. But still, if the meta does slow down, this could be a very interesting card. The effect is quite powerful. Next up, Drekthar. 4 mana 4/4, just like the Alliance General. Battlecry, if this costs more than every minion in your deck, summon 2 of them. Pretty cool effect, which means that you have to run only cards that cost less than Drekthar for this to be active. I mean, you could technically run cards that cost more, but then the Battlecry won't work, so you probably don't want to do that. Pretty good in aggressive type decks. If 4 mana is the kind of ceiling there, you can just jam this whenever, and it'll pull 2 minions from your deck just onto the board. Really good, really powerful effect. It can be used in some sort of combo type decks as well, but it'll be very specific. For example, I've seen a Miracle Priest, I think Wire posted on Twitter, that runs Drekthar. And for example, it tutors out Sethic Veilweaver and Nismani Bloodweaver, which is good for the deck. Basically, if you like aggressive decks, this is probably good for you. And if you like slower decks, this is probably good for you. So a little bit of insight there if you don't know what to choose for your faction. Alliance, Horde. Anyways, both of these are quite powerful, and I imagine both of them will see play. Next up, we have Bloodseeker. This is a hunter weapon. It's 2 mana 2/2. Honorable Kill, gain +1/+1. This is really similar to a weapon I've seen in duels. I forget what it's called, forgive me, but basically whenever you get a kill with it, if it's honorable, you gain stats on the weapon. Now, it's not super easy to do this because as you're upgrading the weapon more and more, the attack will change, obviously, and it'll make the honorable kills slightly harder to get. And of course, your opponent will see that you have this equipped and will hopefully try to play around it. That being said, I think it's a pretty powerful weapon. It causes your opponent to have to play a little differently if they don't want to give you the Bloodseeker buff. And it's just a one-time investment that you can keep using to fight for board and protect your minions as you develop behind this. So I think this is a very good card. Next up, Buldar Bridge. This is a 4-mana paladin spell. After you summon a minion, give it +2/+2, and this lasts 3 turns. 3 turns is a lot. I don't think we've ever seen something like this in Hearthstone before, where we've had like a lasting effect, or a temporary effect, but last over several turns. So this is really interesting, and notably this is also summon a minion, not just play, which means that your hero power will get buffed, Death Rattle is proccing, and spawning minions will also get buffed, so that's kind of cool. I don't know how to actually rate this card because, and I've said this a few times already, this is very meta dependent. This has sort of a hand buff vibe to it, even though you're not necessarily buffing the cards in your hand. But it kind of is kind of like that because you play this and then you'll play stuff from hand that gets buffed, and you'll also summon some things too, but it's got a hand buff aspect to it. And generally hand buff has been kind of slow and we haven't really seen it too much be successful anyways. So maybe this can push it a bit over the edge because it lasts over 3 turns and it's kind of really good, and it'll work for your next 3 draws technically as well if you if they're playable cards. The downside is this costs 4 mana, and if you play this on turn 4, you're basically passing, so you need reactive cards. I'm not sure how this works with something like Catacomb Guard, which is a 3-mana 1/4 lifesteal and paladin that has a battle cry, deal damage equal to this minion's attack. If it works the way I think it works, the Catacomb Guard will gain attack and then do the damage, but I'm not sure. If it does work like that, then there are tools that you can use to make up for the fact that this basically takes up your whole turn when you play it. The effect is powerful, but it might be too slow unless there's a lot of hand buff support. So we'll see if that actually is playable. Again, it's not going in order. Lightforged Cariel. Looks like we're back to hero cards, which I don't really like because they warp the game based on whether or not you've drawn the card. So I strongly dislike this, but let's go in with an open mind and talk about what this does. 7 mana. Battlecry, deal 2 damage to all enemies, so we got an AoE, and equip a 2/5 immovable object. The immovable object is a weapon. This doesn't lose durability, which means you have infinite swings with it. Pretty cool. Your hero takes half damage rounded up. So, infinite damage over time, damage reduction. Okay. Well, infinite is kind of a, you know, basically the weapon is, if it's not removed, it does damage every turn, which is kind of nice. And you take less damage, which is also pretty cool. And you also get a hero power. 2 mana, Blessing of Queens. Give a random minion in your hand +4/+4. +4/+4 is a lot. And being able to do it every turn, also very powerful. Now, it's still random, but if you run enough cards that benefit from being buffed, this could actually be a strong late game sort of tool, right? The difference is that you can't just hit the button like the dude hero power, you just make a 1/1, because you do need minions in hand to actually gain the buff. So there will be an aspect of holding resources to be able to buff them. Notably, this card is 7 mana. 7 tends to be kind of slow in this meta. So I'm hoping that the fact that this is 7 mana, these effects seem powerful. I'm hoping that the fact that this is 7 mana means that the games will likely be slower than they currently are, which means that we will be having not control decks necessarily, but more mid-rangey decks, slower decks that have different game plans than kill you on 5 or 7 from hand. So, cool design card. I hope it sees play, but I'm still a little skeptical because of the fact that it's so slow. Again, not in order, but that's fine. Snowball Graveyard. Hunter Spell. 3 mana, so this is similar to the Paladin spell we just saw. Your Death Rattle's triggered twice, but this lasts 3 turns. Pretty cool. Now, Death Rattle Hunter currently isn't seeing play, but there has been some support printed for it in the Deadmine set, in the mini set. I'm assuming we'll see some more Death Rattle support as well, which implies that this will probably be relatively playable. However, again, 3 mana not doing anything as Hunter doesn't feel very good. So ideally you want to go 3 mana, play this, do something on 4, and hopefully proc it as well, and then, you know, go on from there. But if you go 3 mana, do nothing, 4 mana, develop some Death Rattles, still do nothing, and then you go 5 mana, do something with the Death Rattles, it seems very, very slow. So this might not be a card that you actually play on turn 3. You might set up some boards and then play this as you're triggering the Death Rattles. In any case, it's a card that doesn't do anything in your hand and kind of sits until you have a way to activate stuff. So I'm, again, a little skeptical about this, but if there's enough support, this could definitely be strong. This is kind of like a Baron Rivendell type effect, but without having to rely on Baron sticking, and it's cheaper than Baron. So cool. Hopefully this sees some play as well. A little skeptical, but maybe. Siphon mana. 2 mana mage spell, deal 2 damage, honorable kill, reduce the cost of spells in your hand by 1. And it's an arcane spell. Interesting. Little concerned about the whole mana cheat thing. You know how we've had problems with that in the past. Now, this gets better when mage has very consistent draw, and we've seen Arcane Intellect, Multicaster. Cram Position has been nerfed, which is kind of nice. I'm wondering if you can fit this into Quest Mage, and if Quest Mage still sees play with the Arcanist Dawngrasp nerf that just happened. The effect is powerful. It's a mini Emperor in a spell-heavy deck, which is kind of nice, and it's removal on top of that. Now, it's hard to set up, but it shouldn't be that hard to set up, which is kind of okay. So, yeah, this absolutely will see play. I don't know where, but there's no way this doesn't see play. Maybe you don't put it in your deck, maybe discover it, but I feel like this is strong enough to put in your deck, discounting cards in hand. Yeah, absolutely, this will see play. All right, next up, final card, Wildheart Goff, another hero card. I'm curious to see if they are going to release a hero card for each of the classes, or if it's just some specific ones that they'll have. But anyways, so far we've seen 2. Wildheart Goff, 5 mana, Battle Cry, set your maximum mana to 20. Also, gain a mana crystal. Also, draw a card. Wow. We have never before seen, I think, the mana cap change. So this is interesting. There's a lot of stuff you can do with 20. Now, this doesn't give you 20 mana crystals. This just means that instead of going up to 10 naturally, you can go up to 20 now. But that aside, gaining a mana crystal, ramp, cool. Draw a card, cool. Gain 5 armor, also cool. So even without the battle cry, set your maximum mana to 20, this is already kind of a solid card. Let's talk about the hero power. Nurture. Choose 1, draw a card, or gain a mana crystal. And now your hero power becomes 2 mana draw a card, or 2 mana ramp. And it's not only, it's gain a mana crystal, not an empty one, which means that it's technically, if you're using it for ramp, it's 1 mana, gain a mana crystal, gain an empty mana crystal, which is kind of wacky. So that's quite strong. This seems really, really busted. If Druid does not get smoked down, this will lead to some interesting, wacky stuff. This definitely will see play. Absolutely. I have no doubts about this. Anyways, that's all the cards we've seen so far. A lot of these have some unique effects, which I'm pretty excited to, I guess, try out. And I'm also excited to see what else we will be shown in the Fractured Alterac Valley expansion. This is part 1, I guess, and I'll be doing a few more of these as more cards are shown so that you guys have an understanding of what these cards will be doing. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time for the Alliance.